So, welcome to the operating system class. We are now dealing with a topic called as CPU schedulers and its evaluation criteria. So, in schedulers, in our last class, we had a productive discussion. One we called it as short-term scheduling, another we called it as long-term scheduling, and third one was medium-term scheduling. So, then we coined of two words. First word we coined will be the non-preemptive. Another word will be the preemptive. So when it is a non-preemptive, the jobs which are available at the moment where CPU is going to execute with its burst time, those jobs are picked up one after the other or based upon the algorithm, and it starts execution. Meanwhile, if any other job comes, that job won't be accepted. After the completion of 2 or 3 programs which are at the beginning, then only preemption will take place. Non-preemption will take place. Whereas preemption, at any moment of time, job comes, that job is considered, its burst time is checked. If it is less, it is given weightage, and thereby jobs are taken forward. So that we called it as a preemptive scheduling. Then in schedulings, we had coined these terms and we have taken up the definitions of these. And a quick recap, the first one we were mentioning it as a throughput. So in a unit interval of time, how many jobs a CPU is going to execute. So assume I have 10 to 11. So between 10 to 11, assume 5 programs are done. Then throughput is equals to 5. Okay. Then throughput is equals to 5. So in a unit interval of time between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., how many number of jobs executed by the CPU? Assume it is 5. Okay, I say throughput is 5. Now coming to the second one, we are going to call it as turnaround time. So in turnaround time, what is happening is a job is going to born in a state called as new state, then it goes to ready state, then it is going to running state. If it is if it doesn't need any IO etc., then it is going to have an exit state. But meanwhile, if it needs some input output devices, it is waiting for some resources, then it is going for a waiting state. So here the cycle is going to repeat. Now what is happening in a turnaround time is right from the job submission, that is at the new state, to the job completion, total time what we are going to consider, then we are going to call it as a turnaround time. Third thing, we are going to call it as waiting time. So how much time the job has waited in the ready queue, or how much time the job has waited in this state, in the ready state, then we are going to call it as ready state. So how much time the job is waited for the CPU so that it gets executed. So that waiting time we are going to assume here, then we call it as waiting time. And the last one will be the response time. So response time, it will be an active entity in the running state. So in the running state, the original CPU will be there. So how much time the process get executed by the CPU, how much time the process has been made so that job gets executed. So that one we are going to call here as a response time. Fine. So now let us look into a real-time scenario where these 4 terms we can interpret ourselves. Okay. Assume assume new state, you have started from your home. Okay. Assume you have started from a home, you want to visit to a doctor, had an appointment, etc. And then you have to take some tablets and then come back to your home. So the new state, you are assuming it as the first one, new state. Okay, now you visited the hospital and then you are in the gallery, you are in the waiting room. So that state you are going to call it as ready state. Now where the doctor is there, so that state you are going to call it as running state. Okay, doctor, he has not given you any test reports, any scanning reports. he gave you just some tablets and he told go and purchase, then the thing will be done. So obviously you are saying that is an exit state. Okay, doctor, he felt that he has to do some diagnosis, he has to do some tests, then you are going to call this one as a waiting state. Okay, after you got your test reports, you can't directly go to the doctor room. Again, you have to wait in the gallery and they will call you, the compounder or the sister, they will call you. Then only you are going to visiting to the doctor's space. So that is the real-time scenario. Now let us put these terms in these appropriate positions. Ready? So assume you have started at your home at 9 a.m. and you are back to your home at 12 noon. Okay, so you started from your home at 9 a.m. and you are back to your home at 11 noon, sorry, 12 noon. So now what is throughput? Sorry, what is turnaround time? So what is turnaround time means right from the job submission to the job completion. So what will be the things or events in those? One, you are starting at home. Two, you are waiting for the doctor in the waiting room. Three, you have had an appointment with the doctor. Doctor is talking to you. Four, he has given you some diagnostic tests. He has given you some test reports. You made it. You came out. Finally, you got the prescription and you took the tablets and you came home. So at 9 a.m. you started in your home and you reached to your home again at 12 noon. So what is turnaround time? Tell me the answer, please. What is turnaround time? What is the value of turnaround time? How many hours?
3 hours.
3 hours. So turnaround time is 3 hours. Okay, now let us discuss what is waiting time. Now let us discuss what is waiting time. Okay, at 10 o'clock you reached the hospital. At 10 o'clock you reached the hospital and at 11 o'clock, you got the appointment with the doctor. At 11 o'clock you got the appointment with the doctor. So for the doctor you are waiting between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. only, nothing else. So the count will be considered whenever you enter into the hospital and waiting for the doctor in the waiting room. Done? So only that duration is considered. Now what is the value of waiting time? What is the value of waiting time now?
1 hour, sir.
1 hour. Fine. Last one. Okay. So now you got the compounder or the sister told, okay, doctor is calling you inside the room. So, okay. So now doctor, he has given you appointment at 11 o'clock and he has spent to give prescription for 5 minutes. And he has said, oh, no need of any tests, etc. You use these tablets, that will be fine. So now, what is the value of response time? What is the value of response time? What is the value of response time? Yes, you are at the doctor between 11 a.m. to 11:05 a.m. So now what is the value at the response time?
5 minutes, sir.
5 minutes. Got it? So in a day, so assume from 2nd 9 2020, from morning 8 a.m. to evening 5 p.m., the doctor, he has 100 prescriptions. He has 100 prescriptions. That means 100 patients has visited the doctor. Now, what is the throughput of doctor? What is the throughput of doctor? Yes?
100, sir.
100. Okay. So this is the definitions of throughput, turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. So all the scheduling algorithms, what we are going to discuss from today and tomorrow's class, will follow these events. Later on, the same things you have to execute in C or Python or Java in your lab. So you have to compute turnaround time, you have to compute waiting time, you have to compute response time for each and every algorithm. So that will be the lab exercise. Okay, that we will be discussing later. Okay, fine. So throughput is right in a unit interval of time, how many number of jobs has been executed. Okay, so from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. doctor has 100 patient visits. So the total number of patients who visited the doctor today, it is 100. So that is called as throughput. Turnaround time, I started from my home at 9 o'clock and then I came back to my home at 12 o'clock. So the total 3 hours I am going to call the turnaround time of my process or turnaround time of my job. So that means right from the job submission to the job end, how much time it is taking, you are going to call it as turnaround time. Next one, waiting time. Okay, I reached the hospital at 10 a.m. Even though I started at 9 o'clock, I reached the doctor at 10 a.m. From that time only your time counts. So the compounder will tell, wait in the, sit in the hall. So I will give you the appointment of the doctor. So you are waiting for the doctor from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. ideally. So that ideal time, what we are going to call? We are going to call that one as a waiting time. So in this scenario, it is 1 hour. Okay. Now the doctor or a compounder, the compounder is they're going to call inside. Okay, doctor is waiting for you. So you got an appointment. So doctor, he will spend time with you between 11 o'clock to 11:05. So he will diagnosis, etc., give prescriptions, etc. Whatever he do, assume it is 5 minutes of time. So that 5 minutes of time only doctor has been assigned to you. So that 5 minutes of time we are going to call it as response time. So assume there are some jobs. All the jobs in a state called as new state, all the jobs are waiting to get executed in the ready state, and all the jobs are being processed by the CPU at the running state, and all the jobs, if they need some IO or other resources, they are put in waiting state. If there is no need of IO, etc., then they are coming out directly. That state we are going to call it as an exit state. So these are the different scheduling criteria what we have to follow. So in that we will be looking what is the minimum value, what is the maximum value. So those are all we have to discuss. So that is regarding the criteria evaluation. So that is regarding the criteria evaluation. So now let us dig deep into the original contents. So what will be the original contents means the CPU scheduling algorithms. The CPU scheduling algorithms we will be discussing one after the other. So the very first CPU scheduling, now when coming to the CPU scheduling algorithms, again we have to use two words. One we are going to call it as preemptive, and another we are going to call it as non-preemptive. So non-preemptive means if 11 o'clock class starts, if there are 100 students at 11 o'clock, I will teach my class only these 200 students. I will not allow the 100 first girl or 100 second girl. I will allow only these 100 and teach. Then I am going to call it as non-preemption. I am having at 11 o'clock 100 students. At 11:01 I got 10 students. At 11:02 I got 20 students. Now 130 students are there with me. Now these 130 students I am going to teach. Even though they came late by 5 or 10 minutes, still I am going to join them. Then I am going to call it as preemptive. Okay, so CPU scheduling algorithms are of two types. One we are going to call it as non-preemptive. Another we are going to call it as preemptive. So there are various algorithms what we have to look into it. The first one is based on first in first out. The first type of algorithm which falls in this CPU scheduling is first in first out. So second one will be the shortest job first, another will be the priority, and another one will be the round robin. So we have various types of CPU scheduling algorithms. One will be the first in first out, second one will be the shortest job first, third one will be the priority CPU scheduling algorithm, fourth one will be the round robin scheduling algorithm. So we will take up one by one algorithm. So now let us look into the very first one, that is called as first in first out scheduling. So we will call it as first come first serve FCFS scheduling algorithms. So first come, whoever is going to enter into the CPU, only that will be served first. So where did you hear this principle? that you are heard in the word called as a data structure called as queue. So which job has entered to the CPU at the first interval time, that job is going to be serviced for the first. So we call such type of an algorithm as first come, first serve. So we are going to see there are three processes, process 1, process 2 and process 3. There are three processes here, and each process will need CPU time, CPU time. One it needs for 24 burst milliseconds, another it needs 3 seconds, and another it needs some 3 seconds. So process 1 needs 24 seconds of CPU time to get executed. Process 2 needs 3 seconds to get its job done, and process 3 needs 3 seconds to get its job done. Okay, now what is scheduling is? Scheduling is nothing but ordering. Scheduling is nothing but ordering. So which job should come first, which job should come next? That is what we call it as scheduling. So assume 9 to 9:40, I have 1 hour. Next one, 10 to 10:40, I had another hour. 11 to 11:40, I am getting 1 more hour. Again, 2 to 2:40, I am going to get 1 more hour. So this is job 1, this is job 2, this is job 3, and this is job 4. So these jobs are going to be sequenced. These jobs are going to be processed one after the other. So you made some schedule, you made some timetable, you made some ordering. So that is where we are going to take this scenario here. So scheduling is nothing but ordering of the jobs so that the CPU gets executed these jobs. Okay. So now we are going to be in the ready state. Now we are entering into the ready state. In this ready state, we are going to have a ready queue, and now the ready queue is going to have process 1, process 2 and process 3. Now you have a timetable in your Excel sheet. Similarly, how a CPU is going to have its representation of scheduling algorithm is, the representation of a CPU scheduling algorithm in operating system will be done using the Gantt chart. Gantt, Gantt chart. So the representation of a scheduling of the components in a central processing unit will be represented theoretically as far as CPU scheduling is concerned. They are going to represent it in a Gantt chart. So if I am going to have my timetable of third CSC, now we are going to get it in PDF form or an Excel form in a rows and columns. Similarly, to represent the process scheduling algorithms, people in operating system, they are going to prefer this Gantt chart. So to put a process time, to put a burst time of the central processing unit, the representation will be only the Gantt chart. Now I request students to take your pen and paper and solve these problems along with me. To solve these problems along with me. The reason is the same problems, of course 24, 3, 3 may not be there. Some other number will come. Only those values will be replaced. These are for your theoretical and your lab sessions. For both the things, these exams you have these problems you have to solve. So that is my advice is, along with you have to practice this algorithm along with me in this. Okay. So now let us look into the Gantt chart. So what is the first process means? First process is going to be P1. What is the second process? Second process is P2. Third process is P3. So to write the Gantt chart, you are going to represent this box here. Okay. Now, why I am going to put the cell as huge for P1? Why not I put the big cell for P2? Why not I put the big cell for P3? The reason is the burst time of the P1 process is 24. So all the process they are at 0 time. All the process they have starting time at 0. All the process they are going to have the starting time at 0. And P1 is going to end at 24. P1 is going to end at 24. So the policy, what is the policy here? So the policy was first come, first serve. So P1 has entered first. Therefore, I am going to get 24. Next one, P2 is there. So P2 is going to enter after P1 has executed. So P2 is going to get the servicing So here the total interval was 24. Here the total interval was 3. So now I'm going to get 27 here. Next one, I'm going to get the total interval for P3. So P3 is going to occupy for 3 seconds. So I'm going to get here 30. Now let us draw the table as per its existence. So now tell me, P1 is there. When P1 was born, P1 was born at 0. When P1 was completed, P1 has completed as 24. So 24 minus 0, I'm going to get, sorry, the P1 was born at 0 and P1 got its order at 0. That means P1 has entered at 0 and the doctor called immediately when the P1 has in his waiting room. Okay, so the ready state, then you are going to enter into the running state. So as P1 is the first job, there is no waiting for it. There is no waiting for it. So it entered at 0 and then it had an opportunity to talk with the CPU at 0 itself. Now P1 is equals to 0 minus 0. P1 is equals to 0 minus 0. I'm going to get 0 here. Now how I'm going to get a 24 here? That means before P2, P1 is there. Therefore, P2 is going to wait until P1 is going to finish. So how many time seconds P2 is waiting? P2 is waiting for 24. Therefore, you are going to say 24 minus 0. So that is what you are going to get this one as P2 as 24. Now, how do I get this 27? How do I get this 27? One, please unmute yourself and tell me, how did you get this 27?
Because P3 is waiting for 27 waiting time.
Okay, now tell me P3, when did it come to CPU?
After completion of P2
No.
task.
No. P1, P2, P3, they came at 0 only. Okay, they are not late. P0, P1, P2, P3 came at 0 only. But in these three, P1 is first, P2 is second, P3 is third. So one after they are there. So that is FCFS. So P3 has waited until P2 completed. So 27 is 27 minus 0. Okay. Now what is the average waiting time? What is the average waiting time? How do you get the average waiting time? Answer please.
Total
By
sum by
adding
total
these
number.
Fine. Okay. So I'm going to get the sum of P1, P2 and P3. I'm going to get this. That is first one is 0, second one is 24, third one is 23. This is P1, this is P2, this is P2, this is P1 and this is P3. So 24 plus 27 plus 0 divided by 3. I'm going to get the answer as 17. So that is how the first come first serve is going to solve. Okay. Now what is the drawback? Can you unmute yourself, one or two students? Tell me what is the drawback in first come first serve?
More waiting has to wait for more time.
P2 and P3 is waiting for more time. Okay, I will tell you one real time example. There are 3 persons waiting in a queue at a bank. First person is holding 1 lakh rupees. Okay, second person is holding 100 rupees. Third person is also holding 100 rupees. So now what is the thing happening with this second person and third person is, this person is having 1 lakh rupees, he has to deposit into bank. So he takes some 10 or 20 minutes time before him. So he is getting bored, etc. Because he has to pay only 100 rupees to the bank. So his transaction is less and the transaction for the earlier process is 1 lakh rupees. The transaction time is more. So what this P2 and P3 will fill, why don't the bank put one more counter for small transactions? So if it is transactions is between 5,000, so we will not wait in the bank much time. So that is the human psychology. So the same scenario is going to be represented in this second example. The same scenario is represented in the second scenario. So what is the second scenario? You can see that suppose the process arrival times, suppose the process arrive in this order. So what is the order? P2, P3 and P1. So assume why we are going to change this order, because P1 is going to consume 24 seconds, P2 is consuming 3 seconds, 3 is consuming 3 seconds. So P2 and P3 are waiting for a lot of time. So P1 time is more and P2, P3 time is less. So obviously there is a change. Now I want one or two students to unmute yourself and tell me, how do you compute the waiting time for P1? How I got 6? How I got 6?
P1 and P2, 3 plus 3, sir.
What? What is the arrival time of P1? P1 arrival time is
0, sir.
0, sir.
excellent. P1 when it got an appointment with the doctor,
6,
6,
sir.
sir.
doctor is nothing but here CPU. Okay, so 6 minus 0 is equals to 6. Okay, now tell me about P2. What is the
0.
arrival time of when it got
0.
servicing? So 0 minus
3.
0 is equals to 0. What is the arrival time of P3? What is the arrival time of P3? 0.
0, sir.
With the CPU, when it got serviced with the
3,
CPU,
sir.
why 3? Why not 0? Why 3? Why not 0?
3 minus 0.
No. Because P3 is waiting for P2 to complete. Okay.
P2 to be
P3,
completed.
yeah, P3 is waiting for P2 to complete. Now the queue is changed. First one is P2, next one is P3, next one is P1. So these three are the entities in the ready queue. These three are entities in the ready queue, and these they are moved to the running queue. These three they are moved at the running queue. So here in this running queue, you are going to have the CPU. So this is the Gantt chart what we are going to discuss. Okay, so now P1 is going to service for 6 seconds. P2 is going to service for 0 seconds because P2 is at the beginning, and P3 it is going to have between 3 minus 0. So because it is waiting until P2 to complete, so P3 is going to have its 3 seconds. This is 0 seconds for P2, and 3 is for P3, and 6 is for P1. So you are going to get these 3 instances. So average waiting time, I think you are familiar, right? So it is nothing but P1 plus P2 plus P3. So the Y3, Y divided by 3, because there are only 3 jobs in the Gantt chart. So in the program, if they give 5, okay, then you are going to say this 3. Now I want any 1 or 2 students to give me an algorithm code to execute this FCFS. It is just your overview. Just to give me hard steps. Step 1, what is step 1? What is step 2? It is just your idea sharing, need not be executed. Theoretical idea, not if loop, while loop. What will be the steps? If I am asking you to write an algorithm for FCFS scheduling, what is your idea to execute this? Please. Any 1 or 2 students, please answer, or any student. Please unmute yourself and answer. I am giving you a scenario, FCFS, 3 processes are there. How can I do the waiting time if the program is given? Tell me the logic. Please unmute yourself.
Start, sir.
Pardon? If I am asking you to write an algorithm, how can you say what will be the steps to implement FCFS? What will be the first step? What will be the second step? And what will be the third, like that? Yes, it is a theoretical idea. Tell me, please.
What is the minimum burst time? First we have to check.
Okay, fine. What is the arrival time also you have to check, right? So arrival time is 0. What is the burst time? That these two will be the scanf statement, right? Arrival time and the burst time, you have to take it in the scanf. And how many processes are there? It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there are 5 processes, you have to use 5 scanf statement that you have to take via for loop or if loop. Okay, fine. Next step. What will be the next step? Next step, please. Please, let us continue. Please, answer. Answer, please. How do you compute the waiting time in a C, in a Java program? Logic is simple, right? A minus B by A minus B. It is as simple as such. Logic is simple. So now tell me how you are going to implement them. How to take 24 minus 0, how to get 27 minus 0. I need only algorithm, just algorithm, one line. Please answer. How to compute the waiting time? No answers? Okay. Then I have to skip to the second algorithm, if such is the case. If such is the case, I have to skip algorithm. 532, F325, 1, I will not give you access, don't try. So, so the second algorithm was shortest job first algorithm. So the next algorithm will be the shortest job first algorithm. Which job is going to have the shortest interval of time? Which job is going to have the shortest interval of time? That job we are going to give it with the first. So then such type of entity we are going to call here as a shortest job first. So the second scenario itself is the remodeling of first come first serve algorithm, and it has been implemented with the shortest job first algorithm. So now how to identify the shortest job algorithm means I'm going to compute the burst time. In this burst time, which is the lowest, that job is going to be identified as the shortest job, and then you are going to reorder the things. So why I am going to do like that? I am going to have a optimized value for it. So assume the example for the shortest job first. Assume P1 is going to have 6 seconds, P2 is going to have 8 seconds, P3 for 7 seconds, and P1 for 4 seconds. So now tell me what is the order if I can make it as a shortest. Is 6, this is 8, this is 7, this is 3. So what will be the order which is having the shortest job first?
P4, sir.
Why P4? Why P4?
Least first time.
After P4, which should be there?
P1, sir.
Why P1?
Next least burst.
How do you know it is a least burst? Not seeing on the PPT, you should answer, right? You have to do some mathematical calculation, right? So what is that mathematical calculation you have done in your mind? The Gantt chart is it is there, but I do agree answer is before you, but you should analyze why that answer came. So what is your thought process in your mind? That is the answer I am expecting. Yeah, good. Yeah, that is good. Now you are getting the answer. So after P1, what is the next one? P3.
P3, sir.
Why P3? Why P3? What is the mathematical computation you have done in your brain?
Sorting.
Okay. After P3, what is the last one?
P2.
P2. Why P2? Why P2?
That is the remaining one.
Okay. That is the remaining one. No, it is not like that. So I am having 3, 7, 8, and 6 in an array. I am going to have 3, 7, 8, 6 in an array. So one girl, she has told, I am going to do some sort operation. I am going to do some sort operation. Either it can be an ascending order. So what is happening? I am going to get order of 3, 6, 8 and 7. So I'm going to sort this array, and the sorting of an array is 3, 6, 7, 8. So now I am assigning values to this 3, 6, 7, 8. So 3 I am assigning it as 4, P4, and 6 I am assigning it as P1, and 8 I am assigning it as P2, and 7 we are going to assign it as P3, and the same thing we are going to write in the Gantt chart. The same thing we are going to write into the Gantt chart. Ready? Now you are processing this, right? What is P4 size? P4 size is 3 seconds. So 0 to 3. Now what is P1 size? P1 size is 6 seconds. So 3 plus 6 is equals to 9. So this 9 you are going to get this value. So that is where you are going to write P1. Okay. Next, my job is starting at 3 seconds. And what is the size of P3? Size of P3 is 7. So 9 plus 7, I am going to get the value as 16. So I am going to write the Gantt chart as 16. Now what is the size of P2? What is the size of P2? P2 size is 8. So 16 plus 8, I am going to get it as 24. I am going to get it as 24. Okay, girls. Now I want each and every entity, how I got 3, how I got 16, how I got 9, how I got 0. I want you to explain. So students, please unmute yourself and tell me how I got 3, how I got 9, how I got 0. Start. How I got 3. First answer.
Among the 4, 3 is the least.
No. How
So-
this how
3
this value?
minus 0, sir.
3 minus 0. What is 3 and what is 0? 3 minus 0 is equal to 3. 3 minus 0 is equal to 3. That is given to P1. 100% correct. What is 3? What is 0?
0 is the arrival time, sir.
Excellent. 0 is the arrival time. 3 is the burst time.
Waiting time.
First time.
Waiting time. Fine. So this interval, we are going to call it as the burst time. Right. Now tell me, how did you get this 16? How did you get this 16 for P2? How did you get the 16 for P2? Answer, please. Simple questions. Please answer, please.
9 minus 0, sir.
No, I was asking for P2, that is 16. How did you get 16? That is my question.
3
9 plus 7.
16 minus 0.
16 minus 0. What is 16? What is 0?
16 is the waiting time, sir. 0 is the arrival time, sir.
What is the burst time? 16 seconds. Okay. This total slot, right from this much to this much, you are going to get this 16 seconds. Sorry, this one I'm going to get this as 8 seconds. Sorry, this one it is 8 seconds. Okay, now how did I get this 9? How did I get this 9 for P3?
9 minus 0.
9
sir.
minus 0, sir.
9 minus 0. So how long P3 is waiting?
9 seconds, sir.
Why did it wait for 9?
For P4.
Why? After
P4
completion of
It is waiting for
P4 and P1. Why did
P1.
it wait? Why did it wait for P4 and P1 to complete? Why did it wait for
So-
P4 and because?
those are short jobs, sir.
So what is the algorithm we are working?
Shortest job first.
Shortest job first.
Job.
So as we are working on an algorithm called as shortest job first, we have taken the burst times. In this burst time, we have given a sorting. So 3, 7, 8, 6. So we have the shortest burst times. Thereby, we had made a scheduling. So in this, P4 is getting the lowest short time of a burst, followed by P1, followed by P3. So P3 is going to wait until P1 and P4 is going to complete. So in that way, we are computing P1, P2, P3, and P4. So anybody answer why P4 is 0, even though it is at the last? I mean, even the number is high, why it is 0 minus 0?
Because it is the shortest job in all these processes, sir.
Excellent. It is the shortest having burst time in all the sequence. 3, 7, 8, and 6 value of 3 is low. Our algorithm heading is job, shortest job first. So in this 3 is the shortest. So it is put in the first. And it whenever it is starting, there only the CPU is going to take up the job. So 0 minus 0. So it is going to get the value. So CPU it executed for 3 seconds, then it came to P1. After P1 is executed, then CPU has switched to P3. Then CPU has switched to P2. In this way, one after the other, CPU is going to do this multi-programming task. Fine. So now today we will pause our class at this position. Okay. The average waiting time, you can see this 3 plus 16 plus 9 plus 0 divided by 4. Why 4? Because we are going to get the average time. Now we are having 4 process. Now the value is 4. So you get the 7 milliseconds or 7 seconds as the content. So we will pause our class for today. So we'll continue the same algorithms tomorrow again. So after that, we will be looking at priority scheduling and round scheduling algorithms. So we have 162 students. So stop recording.